Hello. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Hey, doing good. Thanks.
Good. Good to see you again. How you been?
Good, really good.
Cool.
Uh, I'm coming down for the May submerse, so looking forward to that.
Oh, cool. We have another submerse in May. Really? That's news to me.
I hope there is. I signed up for
Oh yeah, I'll be there. Hello, Alex. All right. One more moment and we'll get started. All right. So we got two people. Let's get started. So hello, Jeff. Hello, Jeremy. Today my name's William. Just Will for short, but you could call me William if you feel like. I don't mind. I work in support and we're having lunch and learn today. So we've already got a few questions in uh, the Q&A. So we'll start with that and then we'll go from there. The rest of the week, so tomorrow, Lunch and Learn will be hosted by Will Pedersen. So he's obviously the VP of Client and Support Services. And then Wednesday will be Jared from training. And then on Thursday will be Robert from also training. We hope you make those ones as well. So let's get started. First question. Management is looking for some guidance on performance monitoring over decisions, something proactive along the lines of application insights in Azure. Now, I've never used application insights, unfortunately. Let's see what this is. So performance insights, Jeff, do you mean like um, CPU level, memory
Yeah,
level,
so
things like that? Mhm.
the so App Insights in Azure is basically it's a multi-function monitoring tool, but it's the way we use it mostly in our application is our other applications is it'll basically monitor response times for calling endpoints in our API.
Mhm.
And then if something seems like it's ramping up and taking longer than usual, it'll send us an alert saying that something's happening with your API. Maybe come and investigate it. So recently, we've had a couple issues with performance and decisions,
Mhm.
but uh, and I understand the tools that are available, like the profiler or the things in the studio, like system tool, but that's more reactive. So they just wanted me to ask if there's any way we could set up something more on the sort of on the front end to head off any problem. So I didn't know if there's anything included in decisions that could help us with that, or maybe if decisions is running on a virtual machine, maybe we can link our app insights into that somehow.
Mhm.
or if it's running in a container, maybe there's some performance metrics around the container. So I guess it's kind of a broad question. I just was
Yeah.
looking to see if anybody had any tips.
Oh, that's really broad. Yeah. For us internally, we use Datadog to monitor the hosted decisions instances. But
Data.
yeah, but to test API calls internally, normally we use JMeter, and that's not automated like this is, unfortunately. So JMeter is more, you set up a test plan, you test it, you run it, and you have it run, once or twice a day to test
Okay.
it. Whereas this Azure Insights, this looks really good actually. This looks more automated. If you're, I can't recommend any one thing right now. Um, that's a really good question.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this data done. That looks like that might.
But for API calls, you could actually make a job in decisions. So like if you go to jobs, what version do I have here? 819. I mean, you could make a job, for example, and then you could make a new flow. What's it? Create flow. And you could have that just call another flow through an API, for example.
I mean, have decisions call the endpoint itself and then just monitor.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think about
S-
that.
So like add REST service, so you just do decisions and then you put like this example is just localhost. It's not a great example. Hmm, doesn't copy. Not very original. Like no authentication, and then request timed out. Hmm, I don't like that. I'm gonna have to use a name session. Anyway, yeah, I'd recommend a name session at that point. They could just call the flows as an API. So it'd just be decisions calling itself. And then you can use name sessions, for example. So like if I just pick myself, admin, yep, this isn't loading. I don't like that. It's probably because I'm hosting. Anyway, so yeah, you just right click, go to integration. There's no integration because I haven't set it up yet. And that's why I need this. Hmm, let's break the lock. There we go. Configure integration API service, done, view, name session. Nope, wrong one. Available name sessions, admin. All right, so my local is not very fast today. All right, there we go. Where's my name session? That's weird. There we go. Yeah, so here's the name session. And so you can set that URL up as an integration and then put that in there.
Okay.
So like
I get the question.
this would be your root URL and it'd be flow, then flow ID, or you could do by path as well, or by alias. It's up to you. You got lots of options here. But if you
Okay.
want to do something external, um, unfortunately, I can't really recommend anything.
Okay. I think this is useful. I can dig into this a little bit.
Okay, cool. And then I think by default, most steps will throw an error if it takes over like 5 seconds, right?
Yeah,
Not an error, a warning.
yeah, that shows up in the logs.
Yeah, so you'll see that in logs.
Yeah. Okay.
Good questions, man. Took me a moment. I love it. Um, and then if you set that up as a job, and if it takes longer than like 5 or 10 seconds, you could have it send an email, just as an example. But external services, yeah, I can't recommend anything. Okay, does anybody else have a question? Okay. Is there anything you guys would like to see or to test?
Uh, I have a question. I don't know if this is your
Mhm.
in your domain, Will, but so does Decisions offer some kind of a portal or something that customers can use to just spin up like a test instance or something? I know that I know that if you're in training, they give you like a test instance, but I don't know if that's something that customers can just work with.
Hmm.
I can speak to the training side a little bit, with
Oh,
the
okay.
training container thing. My name is Rob. I'm on the training team.
Oh,
Yeah, if you go through and request a training instance through our LMS, we will spin one up for you. It'll automatically spin one up for you, and you can use that to be exploratory if you want some separation between, your actual working environment and you just want a place to test things. You just, you know, um, need to be aware that the import and export of what you're already working on, it may not be seamless, so you'll have to do some rebuilding just because if you have things mapped in with APIs and all that. But if you wanted a training container, that is something that can be done, and I can even speed up that process right now if you'd like. But just you need to be aware that it's not going to be a perfect seamless crossover where you're going to have a fake or a working instance of exactly what you have. It'll be kind of scaled down, but I can get you a training instance, no problem.
oh, okay. Yeah, I don't need one right now, but
Yeah.
sometimes things come up where we'll be working with an existing flow or something after we upgrade, and then something will be different or not working quite right. And we want to go back and like look at how this was in 8.12 before we upgraded.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, so just whenever you're ready if you want a training instance, if you just go through the LMS, and if you don't have access to the learning management system anymore, if you just go through training.decisions.com, you can just request a new account. And as long as you're using that training instance, it will stay open. But once you have not used it for 2 weeks, it will um, deactivate, but that data can still be recalled. So but if you do need a training instance, like you just wanted a sandbox to, be exploratory, that's something that we can provide on the training side.
okay, cool. Thanks.
Alternatively, you are able to download the latest version here on our download website. And then every time you download it, if you install it with a fresh new install, you have about a week for a trial license, and you can use it locally after that. So same thing with older versions. For example, if you need an older version, you can reach out to us in support, and we can supply you with an older version.
Okay.
But yeah, you can test locally with just a trial, and then after that, after your trial expires, it'll just be a local instance, so it can't connect to anything. but I think the container idea is a little bit better because it's fully licensed.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good question. Okay, next. Does anybody else have a question? Nicholas, yeah, I was gonna say I saw you had a question during the last lunch and learn, correct?
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, cool.
Right,
I
we can
have a
hear you.
question. So I've been developing something for my company, and it's like a data entry form for measuring lithium ion pouch cells. And I had a request from the stakeholders to make it so that whenever they're entering these form fields, that it doesn't default to pre-fill the field with like a bunch of zeros. And I thought I had set it up the proper way, and at least from my knowledge of decisions, it is set up in the proper way, but it's not reflecting that whenever they're actually running the flow. So I just wanted to get some help/input on it.
Okay, great. Let's take a look
I'm like, I
at
can
it.
share my screen and show you what I've got because I'm pretty sure I have the correct settings selected. Because it's just number boxes, right?
All right, I'm gonna stop sharing.
And what's that?
I've stopped sharing. Could
Okay.
you share your
Yeah.
screen?
We don't allow sharing.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
this
fine.
video will be posted on YouTube, and
So
there's
yeah,
privacy concerns.
That's
I
my
have
mistake.
a numbers box, right? I have
Hmm.
it set up to, take in inputs and all that kind of stuff. In the setup data section of the numbers box, I have selected or I have disselected auto populate. And I'm assuming that would be what's making it auto populate with a bunch of zeros. But however, whenever I run the flow and the form gets shown, it still is populating with zeros.
Wait, test. Cool. Could you post the could you paste the screenshot in chat of the step
Of
properties?
the setup data.
The step properties. So
Yeah.
that it's just the input data for the form. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just input.
Okay. Save. I haven't added a button yet. Oops. Let's go back. Button. Next. Save. Exit. Sorry about that. Try to mute myself. So you had it here as constant, right?
For what is that for?
This is for the form input.
There wouldn't be any inputs for it.
Okay.
It's an output only. Like the number box is just an output.
Okay, so did you select static input then?
No, I just don't. I just hit ignore on input whenever it asks for it. Because like, there's nothing going into the form to populate that form. They're
Uh,
typing in measurements, and then
mhm.
those measurements get recorded.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so if we run this form, it's not going to do anything. See, there's nothing there. XX, open, open. So we're going to do static input and just, what are you trying to input, by the way? What are you trying to have show up as
So
default?
I'm trying to have nothing show up as default, but the problem is that there's default zeros in the numbers box.
Is this a text box
Yeah, correct,
or,
William. That's the problem I'm having.
yeah, so it's a text box and not a number box, right?
I mean, it's a numbers box.
Okay, let's do it. Number box. Number box. Yeah, thank you, Alex. That was a good question. So that you're having the default zeros populate like that, right? populate like that, right?
Yeah. And so I have up in setup data where it says auto populate. I have that unchecked.
Hmm.
And whenever I preview the form, it shows that there's no zeros and there's nothing being auto populated, which is what I want. But whenever I actually run the form in the flow, the zeros are still there.
Yeah, like that, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so what kind of data type do you want this? Do you want here? Do you want decimal, integer, or a double?
It's a decimal.
So it is a decimal. And what would you
Yeah.
like to have displayed instead?
Nothing. Just a blank box.
Hmm.
It might be as simple as allowing null value under the setup data. I could be wrong on that, but if you allow null value, it won't default to 0. It'll
Here
just
we
give
go.
you.
Right. So the
So allow
weird thing is
null
that I
that.
have this set up in a different form,
Mhm.
and it works exactly the way that I want it to work. But in a
Interesting.
different form, it's still auto-populating the zeros.
It's both. Okay, so let's do that again and show you. Edit form. So we're gonna put two more number boxes here. Got caps lock on. Number 1, and then number 2. I'm not very original.
You're
So
fine.
number box 1 has allow null value and unchecked auto populate. Number 2 has default. So let's just do number 1, so default. And number 2 has allow null value and auto populate, whereas this one does not have auto populate check. So we got all three instances. So what is this? Null and auto populate. Cool. Exit, save. So let's see what happens when we run it. So this one is the one we want.
Yeah.
And then these two obviously
Don't
have
want that.
the
Yeah.
default values. Can I type any words in here? What? No, it doesn't like that. Oh, good. So it likes numbers. Okay. So hit exit, exit. So yeah, it has to be both.
Both null and auto-populate.
Correct. So both null and autopopulate. Let me take a
All right.
screenshot of this for you.
No, that's fine. I can remember that well enough. Thank you very much.
That was a good question, man. All right, thank you for the question.
Thank you for the answer.
Jeff. Yeah, right. Thank you. I'm trying, man. Jeff has another question. Is there a way to see the query that is being generated by a table integration step or additional table access? Good question. Table integration. Where would that be? So table integration would be this one. Jeff, how did you configure this? Is it database queries or external services? Oh, which one? Database queries?
The second item under integrations
Uh, external services or databases?
database.
Hmm.
So if you create a connection to a table,
Mm-hmm.
then you can bounce that.
So, I don't know. Testing. Server name, localhost, database name, testing. All right, cool. That's not going to work, is it? It's not going to let me save this. I'll have to set this up. Let's double check. Yep, that failed. Let's just check this one. So I got several queries here. And then if I add a query, Name session accounts. Oh, come on. Edit
Well,
table
query is a little
relationship.
bit different because if you create a query, you're defining the SQL.
Mm-hmm.
But if you use a table integration
Mm-hmm.
and you use the steps that are created by it, not then decisions is creating dynamic SQL. And that's what I'm interested in seeing. Just for cases when we're like looking at performance and stuff, we want to be able to grab the query that decisions is creating and run some tests on it.
Okay. Let's see. What would that be?
No, I thought maybe you could say, well, if you turn the logging up to trace, then that would cause those to be emitted or something.
Hmm.
I mean, I could play with it.
One moment. Let me see.
Or maybe there's some other logging mechanism for that.
Integration activity is normally for emails, not for that. So for logging, we can right click, edit logging steps, advanced log categories. Yeah. You got database query editor here. And you could turn on information logs, for example,
Oh, okay.
or just database in general.
No, I didn't think about this, so maybe I'll give that a try.
Maybe it's because I haven't done it yet. Let's see. Integration, external web service. We exit this, and then that would be databases. Let's 1 second. Nope. Let's copy here. Server name. Okay, I'm gonna pause the sharing while I'm working on this. Does anybody else have another question while I set this up really quickly?
Now, if the query takes longer than 5 seconds, like you said, it does show it in the log.
That's correct.
The problem I was running into is I don't know how to get it if it's not taking more than 5 seconds.
I mean, you could just put a logging step saying that you're running it and then set it to warning by default. Resume share.
Oh, in the flow?
Yeah. So if we
Oh.
go back to flow, we'll just do form testing again.
I mean, that would log that it's running, but it wouldn't log what the query is.
Yeah, you'd have to get the query itself.
Is there a way to get that out of those steps?
Database, connection, transaction.
Well, actually, this would be in your toolbox. Look under integration. Do you have anything under there?
Yep. Integration, database. So here we go. Run query. Doesn't say the query. I've got an ODBC connection that's broken.
Well, the queries are a different story because I can get that because you define it when you define the query. So in my toolbox where I've connected the tables in our database, I'm under the toolbox there. It shows like the table name, and then there's a bunch of steps underneath it, like get by ID from the table or insert a record in the table. You don't seem to have that.
No, I don't.
But
Add query.
let me play with your logging thing for the database category.
Let me try this really quickly. Version number, return data, run query. Cool. Okay. So there's a query. Let's exit this, re-enter. Scroll down, integration, database, local connection. So I got this query. So it does run locally. And then is that anywhere? I don't think there's a step for it. I mean, I don't really want to play with internal services either. But if we check it, database, set. No,
I was wondering more if there was a output from your execute query stuff that like said, here's the query I just ran.
yeah, that's right. So it says what version I got. Mhm. I don't think there is. I think you'll have to actually save the name of the query. So you can use a logging step to save the name of the query or the name of the step. And then you have to have the designer go in there and find the query.
Hey, will decisions let you create a table integration on the local connection there? On the left.
Table connection, add table. Yeah, you can create a table.
I mean, so you'd be connecting to an existing one. So if you did something like just pick a table.
Which table should we do? Let's just do. You can't search it apparently. All right, great. Entity starts with an E. Entity underscore accounts. There we go. Yeah, see, there's all the data. There's the
Yeah.
table key, and then if we hit next,
And then this lets you pick what steps you want.
correct.
Okay.
I don't feel like I should do this though. Especially for an entity account, we should use the fetch entity step instead.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
this is setting up my example, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh,
And then we go to database, local, was under integrations, correct? My bad. Database, connection, and then this guy.
yeah, so just do like get all from any account.
Yep, system account. There you go.
Yeah, so my need here is I need to know the dynamic SQL.
Hmm. No, it's not going to be possible.
Okay.
So if we go here, doesn't really show us anything. That's a good question. You got me stumped. By default, that's definitely not possible. If we go to logging, administration, system tools, logging, right click, edit settings. Log
Yes, and I'm
category.
wondering though, if you set up your database logging category and log all the levels, if that would emit to the log, the query.
Let's just add debug information and verbose. We gotta hurry though, because this is gonna crash my local instance. Cool. AOP. So a lot of stuff right in the background. Hold on.
Oh, ORM. So that, isn't that what you call decisions internal
Yeah, that's
entry
correct.
framework thing? So maybe that's the ticket.
I'm not sure if that's the same one we need though. Hold on, let's debug it again, and then we're gonna check one other dashboard. We were trying to run what? Entity account. And the platform server is not where we want to be. We were hoping for entity accounts.
I just saw it flash by when you were scrolling there.
Okay, let's just search for account. Hmm. Hmm.
How about toward the bottom there?
All right, let's check one more. So we're looking for the system folder. Where is that? Hold on a sec. DB calls page. Database calls. William, do you know which one that would be in? I was thinking event viewer.
I'll check on that.
There's a latest DB queries there.
Yeah, where's that?
Very last one.
System validation?
No, it was in your menu there. Very bottom.
Thank you. There you go. That's exactly what we needed. Thank you. Thank you, William. Thank you, Jeff. Let's turn off logging. 1 second. Right click, edit, check. Hit OK. Go back to event viewer, latest DB queries. Huh, so it is that one. So there's two places. This just showed up in the debug level logs, which I don't recommend running, but you could. I think the latest DB queries is your best thing here. But you have to check the timestamps for this, see? So also that's interesting. So if we run this one again with just a get all, yeah, close these tabs. So we have this one, which is account ID 1 at 1241. So it's now still 1241. Well, that's interesting. Something's running constantly. All right. Create new session, run it. There you go.
Okay.
Can I copy that? Mm, yeah, that's exactly what you need. So you need that select statement right there.
Yeah.
And it's posted in the latest DB queries. And then your heaviest ones will be in the heaviest DB queries dashboard.
Okay.
And so I'm actually not sure. DB queries, is this the one that? Nope. Hmm. This is just a list of the DB queries that we added.
Oh,
I don't see last run. I don't like that. Okay, so I'm not sure where this information is coming from, but heaviest DB queries, for example, this should show your heaviest DB queries, and you can definitely check here often.
yeah.
It'll tell you average CPU time, runtime, and execution count. So if we keep hitting creates, run, run, and then refresh this, so now it's got 4. So these two queries were run 4 times just recently, and that's the average runtime.
Okay. Right. Thank
Another
you.
great question. Thank you. That really took me a moment. What is this one? Oh, that's license data. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Does anyone else have another question? Maybe let's get you the documentation for that.
Hey, well, thanks for your help. I gotta go.
Oh, good talking to you. Nicholas, yeah. So let's take a look. What version do you have, Nicholas? Oh, okay. So in Studio, you can go to the person in the top right corner and then About, and then it'll show you a version right here, and then just copy and paste that into the chat, could you? So we hit debug. Yeah. And then 817. All right, I'll take a look at 817 shortly. And then could you take a screenshot of the number box with the issue and then the setup data properties here? Whole numbers. Huh. Are you able to paste a screenshot in chat, or did that not work? That's upsetting. Okay. All right, Nicholas, could you tell me what you see there? So you click on the number box, so that it's definitely a number box type, right? Under properties. Okay. What about if you paste in a new number box? So you drag and drop a new number box, give it a name, new number box, and then check those properties. So uncheck auto populate, and then check allow null value. I didn't do anything this time.
Yeah, I could try doing that, but like, it's gonna have to make some changes to my stuff. That
Yeah.
brings me to another problem that I've been having where
Mhm.
columns are not being deleted properly throughout my software. So I think this version is heavily bugged. But
It could be.
that is a problem for another time potentially.
All right, if the issue persists, go ahead or I can submit a support ticket for you. Would you like that?
I mean, I can submit one. I have the capacity
Okay.
to do that.
Okay, good. And then just export the sample flow with the form. And then that's all we would need. Okay, the next issue you said with the columns not deleting, what's that about?
Yeah, so like whenever you're in the properties of a form, right? And you're like not you're clicked into like the main square where you can see all your columns and rows and like there's requested sizes and you can have the three dots and click out to delete it or the arrows to shift them up and down, right? If I'm on the second column, right? And I want to delete that column and I hit delete, instead of deleting the second column, it'll always delete the last column in the entire project, regardless of which column I select to delete. It's always deleting the last column.
Account ID, last login date. All right, so I got 3 things. Save it. All right, so where are you deleting the columns? Are you deleting the data fields in the editor, or are you running the report?
No, no, not in a report. It's in like a form editor.
Okay. 1 second while I create a form. Okay, so here's the 2 columns. Do you mean these
Yeah,
columns?
so if you go to your properties and then on where it says grid setup, right, on the column.
This? Or
Yeah,
this
but
one?
not even from there, just from the dots on like the little 3 dots that you can see as you hover over the column.
Mm-hmm.
You hit delete there.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of deleting the last one in that case, well, I guess in that case it would function properly because it would delete the last one. But if you were to select the first one, it would delete the last one. And it only happens on some of my forms, not all of them.
Save.
And I have a
Right.
data repeater in there. I don't know if that's part of the problem, but
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure if the data repeater is the issue. So you're talking about the grid in the background, and the data repeater is on top of the grid, right?
correct.
And then so you go in here and you delete one row specifically
Yep.
from this grid editor and not the
Yep.
advanced layout, right?
Correct.
Okay, so for this example, we're just gonna delete number 2. And then if I hit delete, yeah, issue recreated.
Yep.
So my recommendation is to right click on this.
You can't delete a column from there.
Right here.
That
You are
deletes the entire
correct.
thing. Yeah.
Undo. Let's save this before I mess with it again. All right, and then get your next button here. Excellent. Hey, thanks, Alex, for coming. Hmm. That's a very good question. So if I go here, hit delete this column. Well, that's
Yeah.
terrible.
It's almost like the columns are being improperly mapped in your grid setup. So it's definitely a decisions mapping issue or something.
Hey, William, could you check, see if there's a bug report for this already? Hmm.
Sure thing.
So search for deleting columns in the grid. Just delete column, I guess. I don't like that at all. So if we, nope. Nope. Here, edit. What if we do number 5, delete, done. So again, it deletes the last one. That's expected from the advanced layout. So if we hit enter and then do 30, star, and then 25, example. Then we scroll down here and delete just the 30. Done. So that works. But if they all have the same value as just 1 star, for example, then it just deletes a random column. So then again, if we delete here, checkbox 6, save that. Looks terrible. Hate it. All right, moving on. And if we delete just 25, that deletes the correct column because it had an exact value. Let's try this again. But instead, we're going to do 30 star, highlight, save, text box, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click on this, and I click a random one. I hit delete. Yeah, it does the same thing. And then we remove all these. Done. And then I click number 3 and then delete. Yeah. So if they have the same values like that, so if we do 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, like that, or I should have used labels instead, but that's okay. And then we go in here, click this, and we delete the third one from the top. So 32, right? Then hit delete. There you go. So it's actually expected where it moves all these objects over and it deletes the last object that falls off. Thank you, William. Um, so anything in the last row, even with the rows being unique, it deleted the correct row, 32, but it doesn't delete the objects, not row, column. I apologize. It deleted the correct row, the one that was 32 length, but it didn't delete the objects in that column. Instead, everything else in the last column simply like fell off or something.
Yeah.
So it looks like this is probably expected. We can take this up and see if it is expected for real. But yes, that specific column being deleted. So let's try same thing in the editor. So that'd be column 2. Delete. Yeah, see? And if we add it
Mhm.
back, then it moves over. So column 2 just changed width, for example. So if I set this to 40, see how it's longer? Let's do something bigger, 60. And then I delete 31. Yeah, see, then column 2. So the 60 column moves over 1 and it doesn't delete any objects. So I guess my recommendation to fix this issue before we find out if this is expected, my recommendation would be to add a column. Yeah, add column after or before. See? Wait, what? No, after. No. There you go. You right click on the column you want and then hit add column after.
Mm-hmm.
And then you delete the column you want. So delete, delete, and see how they're moving over like that each time.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation for you.
Okay.
Does that make sense at all?
It does. Yeah. It's just very inconvenient in a user's kind of sense. It's very unintuitive and honestly frustrating.
Yeah. I think there should be a check when you delete a column saying that there's stuff on the last column and it's going to be deleted. I don't think there's ever been a check for that. Regardless, save early and often, right?
Yep.
So I mean, you could use the undo button at least. I think this is expected though. I'll find that out.
Okay.
It's 1 o'clock already. Does anyone else have any final questions? So we have Nicholas and Jeremy. Thank you guys for coming today. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for the answers.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here. Okay, no questions. So tomorrow's going to be hosted by another Will Pedersen. And then on on Wednesday, it'll be Jared from the training team. And then Thursday will be Robert, also from the training team. So hope you guys could come tomorrow. If there's no questions, I'll stop sharing and have a great day.
You as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.